I will hand you over straight away to the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet.
Thank you, Secretary Wana, and welcome members of the media to the briefing session of the 31st meeting decision matrix of Cabinet. Without much ado, let me hand over to the Chair, our usual Chair of such a briefing, Honorable Minister Travel.
Right. Thank you very much, Chief Secretary, and once again, welcome to the 31st meeting decision matrix. With me, I've got the Minister of Health, Honorable Obadiah Moyo. Cabinet considered and approved the proposed national investment policy, which was presented by the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Industrialization and Export Development. The policy outlines the country's strategic investment options and provides a comprehensive framework for the coordination, facilitation, promotion, protection, and retention of investment in Zimbabwe in line with Vision 2030 and the Transitional Stabilization Program, TSP. The objectives of the policy include, among many, the following: to restore and sustain investor confidence through guarantees for investment protection, repatriation of profits, policy consistency, and transparency throughout the entire investment management cycle. Also, to increase the share of private sector investment to a maximum of 25% of the GDP by 2030. To transform Zimbabwe from a resource-based economy to one that promotes value addition based on the adoption of cutting-edge technologies for higher productivity and competitiveness. And finally, to improve the technology transfer and job creation scope of the domestic private sector through business linkages with foreign investor companies. The Cabinet also considered and approved the aid coordination policy as proposed by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development. This policy emanated from a review of the Development Cooperation Policy and its accompanying procedures manual. Furthermore, the policy seeks to ensure consistency in public sector interventions through fostering a collaborative approach between government and development partners on the issue of development assistance to Zimbabwe. Key features of the policy include, inter alia, the following: harmonizing and aligning the programs of development partners to national developments, enhancing the transparency and predictability of development assistance, eliminating costly parallel management structures through ensuring the use of country systems and institutions by all development partners, refocusing aid from projects to programs and ultimately to budget support. And finally, ensuring that technical assistance is demand-driven, transparent, sustainable, and ultimately creates local capacity. The policy and procedures manual will also seek to enhance the sharing of information on development cooperation programs in the country. And third, Cabinet considered the principles of the Health Services Amendment Bill as presented by the Minister of Health and Child Care. Highlights of the amendments include the following: to designate the Health Services Board as a Health Services Commission, to provide for the functions of the Health Services Commission and its administration, to incorporate the basic values and principles governing administration and financial management in the Act, to designate health service as an essential service and emergency critical care as essential services that should be provided for at all times, to indicate that a collective job action should be for a well-defined, reasonable time and not for indefinite period. This issue still needs to be approved. It will be completed in the next cabinet. For today, we had to quickly finish our cabinet as our president was traveling. Then on the report on the special program on irrigation development, Cabinet considered and approved a proposal for the quick rehabilitation and development of irrigation infrastructure throughout the country. This was presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Climate and Rural Resettlement, Honorable Penance Shiri. Under this proposal, Maka Resources, a local manufacturing company, will partner government in the development of 100,000 hectares for irrigation within the next 3 years. The facility will cover both new and existing irrigation schemes and will target the development of 20,000 hectares of communal land and 80,000 hectares of A1 and A2 land. The implementation of this program will increase investment in the irrigation sector and hence reduce reliance on rain-fed agriculture. The Cabinet also received the weekly power and energy supply status report for the country from the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Chasi. The Minister indicated that whereas the electricity supply situation had begun to register significant improvement following the resumption of imports from ESCOM, the situation recently took a dip owing to the breakdown of 3 electricity generation units at the Wange Thermal Power. However, the Minister assured Cabinet that the situation should stabilize within a few days' time, since 2 of those 3 broken down units are now expected to return to service very, very soon. Furthermore, the Minister also advised Cabinet that discussions with HCB of Mozambique and ZESCO of Zambia for the provision of additional power imports are also ongoing. The Minister expressed hope that the discussions will soon be concluded, thereby further improving the electricity supply situation in the country. Cabinet also expressed concern over the rampant theft of ZESA power cables and transformers in many parts of our country, and steps are underway to introduce 10 measures to deal with all those involved in this heinous crime. And to that end, I want to thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now it's time to get questions from members of the media. As usual, I'll give you 2 sessions, 4 questions in each session. Let's start now. Who wants to lead the starters?
I'm not sure whether they need introduction. We have just been joined by our Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Yovo, to answer your questions on the National Investment Policy. Thank you. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, please. Introduce yourself as usual.
My name is Tajelam Jane. I'm a freelance journalist. Unfortunately, I don't know whether my question will meet response, considering that the Minister of Finance, who I wanted to direct the question to, seems not to be around. But my question was in relation to the aid coordination policy. You said that the aid coordination policy will consider budget support based on donor contributions. In line with that, I wanted to know, doesn't that make us seem a dependent country? And what are we saying about ourselves if we cannot support our own budget through our own internal processes?
Okay. The Chair will, assisted by the Minister for Industry, will tackle that. Any other question? Yes, please.
My name is Columbus Mafunga. My question is directed to Minister Moyo, the Health Minister. The doctor strike, we have it again. What is the panacea to the whole problem? How serious are we as a country in solving the health workers' issues?
Okay, to be noted, although it was not a subject of discussion, but I'm sure you will answer that. Any other question? Yes, at the back.
Good afternoon. My name is Pauline Murumuro from the Daily News. I know you always say that we should ask questions that from the issues that we've discussed, But I think just as a concern, didn't Cabinet, discuss the issues with regards to the xenophobia attacks, since Zimbabwe is directly affected? Thank you.
Okay, it will be noted, although, as you rightly say, it was not discussed because there are certain specific fora where such issues are discussed. In other words, committees, special committees of cabinet. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Leo from newslaw.com. My question is in relation to our discussions with HCB and ZESCO. And then in the same context, ESCOM. Have we been paying to ESCOM, and how many installments have we paid so far? How much will we pay so? Thank you.
Okay, last one. Is somebody else right there?
Person behind you.
Thank you, Tapu Chamba from Zimbabwe's TV. I just need clarity for the Minister of Health on the health services bill. I noticed something as the Minister of Information was given our outline, that there is to be a collective approach to this whole striking position. Just give us clarity what you mean, or what this new, you will be saying regarding.
I will hand you over straight away to the
strikes in the future. Thank you.
Okay, that completes the first cycle. I hand over to Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again. Our Minister of Finance, who should have been with us this afternoon, has already travelled to South Africa. But the aid coordination policy is actually tracking information with the development partners. It is critical for every government to make sure that all development partners which come into the country, they work hand in glove with the government institutions. And as such, there is absolutely nothing where it says that government will sit back and not support some of those programs. We've been working with, and Zimbabwe is not the only country which works with development partners. And we are very grateful that they're in our country, and as long as they are working together with us. The policy actually wants to improve on the coordination. That's what is critical. So that if development partners, for example, are working in a particular region, we can't have 3, 4 working in one province, and then the other province, there's nothing happening there. So it's critical that they work, there's coordination, so that we spread the help around the whole 10 provinces of our country. That's what this aid coordination policy is aimed to address. On Columbus Mavunga's question, the doctor strikes, how serious are we in dealing with this, Honorable Minister of Health?
Yes, I want to thank you very much for that question. I think it's a very useful question and very precise at the moment. We are extremely serious as a government to ensure that all our workers, work in line, with the laid down conditions of service, monetary and otherwise. And with regards to our doctors, yes, there was some notification, but unfortunately, after their notification, they then went to a meeting with our health services board, and at that meeting, everybody agreed to some points, which are related to, which ended up, with a collective bargaining agreement. So that collective bargaining agreement is what had to be adhered to as far as the health services board was concerned. But to the surprise of everyone, there was a change of status by the doctors, and the health services board, in that agreement, it had already been agreed that we would look at the health-specific allowances, look at transport allowances, housing allowances, provision of buses, for health workers, and as was stated for everyone, there will be a review of the COLA allowance, in the fourth quarter. So everything is stated there very clearly. But I'm very pleased to note that out of the junior groups, the most senior amongst the junior group, who are the senior resident medical officers, they've all come to work. Not even one of them is absent at all our central hospitals, but it is the junior resident medical officers who find it necessary to indicate that they are incapacitated, and we hope that they will take heed and come back to work. That's what we want to see happening, because government is looking at the requests. We're not just going to sit and saying, whatever we agreed should be looked upon is not going to be looked upon. Everything that has been agreed upon will be looked upon. And I actually had a meeting with the Minister of Finance, and we agree that as soon as we will be looking into all these issues, which need the immediate attention as per the collective bargaining agreement. We go by the collective bargaining agreement where all these issues were stated. So really that's the situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Moyo. And Pauline, Daily News, I think as already Chief Secretary has indicated, it's an issue which is dealt with in the other settled committees of cabinet. Government is seized with what is happening in South Africa, and a statement will be issued later on. Thank you. On leonewszimbabwe.com, the HCB and Zexpo, which you mentioned, and the question was, are we paying our installments? And yes, I would say yes. I would not have the list of payments which have been done, but certainly yes, the installments are being paid. That's agreed. Then Taku Chambakwe, he wanted clarity. He wanted clarity on what this new bill is saying about having strikes. I guess you already dealt with it, but you can expand.
Yes, the principles of the Health Services Amendment Bill seek to achieve a situation where in future everybody will be fully aware and it will be enacted that healthcare services are an essential service for real. At the moment, we seem to be working on a willy-nilly basis, and we want to make sure that all our workers appreciate that it's actually an act, that it's going to be, that it is an essential service. When you are a health worker, you are providing an essential service. And the issue that, the fact that is going to be a commission will further strengthen the fact that, the health workers are also in a position to respect their own profession. The government is respecting the profession of healthcare workers. And that is why we're also coming up with the commission. There will be the opportunity for healthcare personnel to look after or to be composed in that healthcare commission. So this is a very good move. It's a plus for the healthcare service, and it will align all the ideas and the expectations of the healthcare workers. But on top of it, it will also ensure that there is timeous delivery of requests by the healthcare workers, from the healthcare workers to the commission with immediate answers. Because there will be more access, and we'll be able to get rid of that panacea effect which has been taking place on a continuous basis. So I think this is something which is worthwhile, And this was as a result of a request from the healthcare workers themselves. Since 1992, there was a commission which was formed which had to look at healthcare services. And there was a recommendation that we have a health services commission. And before that, I'm told that in the early 1920s, there was also that request. So finally, government has seen it fit, that commission must be put in place for the benefit of the operations of healthcare delivery in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Chief Secretary, that brings us to the end of this round.
Thank you very much. Right, let's have the last round. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. To the Minister of Health, I think the question was...
You didn't say who you are. Now you know everybody.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Maybe he doesn't know.
I'm Leo from newszimbabwe.com. So I think the question is, will those in the health sector be allowed to strike afterwards? And if they are not allowed to strike, what if they strike? Thank you.
Okay. Make yourself visible. Yes, behind you. Say repeat.
Chakuchi Ambakwe, Zimpepers TV.
Okay. You mentioned irrigation scheme with marker resources, if I got that name right. Currently, Parliament is seized with issues to do with command agriculture, where there's been a lot of talk of misuse of state funds, taxpayers' money. Did marker resources go to tender before they got this deal? And which areas are they starting to develop these irrigation schemes with in partnership with the government? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I did back then.
Roland Concern from Newsday. Reading from the Otis General's report, marker resources was noted not to have supplied goods that had been paid for under command agriculture. And the Otis General indicated that public funds could have gone missing through that process. And we hear now that government has started marker resources again. What mechanisms we have as government to ensure that these public resources are not abused again going forward? This is a report of the AG.
Okay. And the last one. Let me see anybody there. If we don't, that's a point of saturation. We might as well end with those three.
The national investment policy, just to remind them.
So back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much once again, Leo. And his question is, will those in the health sector be allowed to strike? And if they are not allowed to strike, if they strike, what will happen? Minister of Health.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. We are in a democratic country where people are allowed to voice their concern, but if you are part of an essential service, you are expected also to show your respect, especially in the case of healthcare personnel. You should show respect for those you are looking after. We are dealing with lives, and therefore you should also show that you've gone through a thorough training, and part of that training would have shown you that at the end of the day you are gaining knowledge to be able to save lives. It becomes really unprofessional to leave your patients, to leave them to die. That is what we have to go against. Do not leave your patients unattended. We have to act responsibly as healthcare professionals. We have to make sure that the bill will make sure that while the collective bargaining action, job action, cannot be an indefinite exercise, and as it will endanger the patient's lives. So there will be a defined period of time where people can voice their concern, but not indefinitely. Maybe a matter of hours, carrying a placard and making sure that your statement is heard, but not to go forever and allow patients to die. You see, that is the bottom line. And we really have to make sure that while we should be allowing people to express themselves, they should express themselves in the correct manner, in a responsible manner, realizing that at the end of the day, you are looking after patients. We should not be in a position to allow our patients to die. Patients don't come to institutions to die. Yes, we appreciate that our healthcare workforce also needs to survive, but everybody else also needs to survive. And so we should be working within a framework where we can be able to say, yes, we've had it, yes, we're going to do something about it, and that is exactly what we are doing now. We're doing something about the requirements as a government for everyone. And for the healthcare workers specifically, we are looking at the particular issues I mentioned.
Thank you very much, Minister Moyo. Takuchamba and Kolisani were concerned about, which is very good, when citizens start questioning which companies are being given government contracts. But I must say the importance of rehabilitation of our irrigation cannot be overemphasized, especially in view of the climate change which we are faced with. We've just gone through a very serious drought where we are now left to import our maize from, which is actually getting the foreign currency which we need so much. So the issue which is here is quick rehabilitation and development of our infrastructure in irrigation throughout the country. And what the ministry is doing, they are obviously considering companies which have got the capacity to jointly work together with them to make sure that these 100 hectares of irrigation within the next 3 years is achievable. And the question of Maka having been a company, I think that's something which I need to verify with the minister since he's not here. But the question that they didn't supply what they were asked to supply during the Command Agriculture, I do not have that information here. But yes, Parliament will continue to do their job of oversight to make sure that companies which are engaged by government to do such an important, a very important project, because everybody is looking at agriculture. Otherwise, we can't continue to do agriculture looking into the skies. We need infrastructure of irrigation in place, and we do have the water, we have the dams, so it's important that those 100 hectares are there in the next 3 years to mitigate the drought situation. That's how I can answer for you, both of you, Taku and Kolisani. Thank you. And if I can give the Minister of Industry and Commerce.
I'm trying to avoid going back without saying anything. So I have to say something.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Just to buttress on the point of Maka resources. Firstly, it's an unsolicited offer. So they made an offer to government, a value proposition was made, which proposition we evaluated. Maka is pretty much the only company in Southern Africa, outside South Africa, that is manufacturing center pivots. Others are importing center pivots to supply. And they want to benefit our agriculture by providing a facility where they go to rehabilitate or put up an irrigation system. And from that system, they will recover their investment. So we are also not talking about government putting money there. They will go to an irrigation scheme, put up the infrastructure, And in most cases, they will be supporting them with the inputs. And they say it might take up to 3 seasons to recover their investments. And we are targeting 200 hectares per district minimum. The 100,000 target is over 3 years. So we looked at it, firstly it's addressing our food security situation, but also it will create a platform for our manufacturing sector to grow, because we have this company which can even in the short term begin to export these center pivots to the region. So I want to allay fears to colleagues here that this is, in my view, a very good deal for our country, for both industry and agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister Govu, and that brings us to the end of this briefing.
Thank you very much, Chair. At this point, let me also thank our members of the media for coming and posing quite useful questions. I hope you are equally happy with the educated others. So until we meet next time, there's no more time for questions. Next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.